Mark Carney didn't just attend another diplomatic meeting. Instead, he brought together a group of international leaders and began shaping what could become a new security framework for the Arctic, one that may significantly reshape Canada's relationship with the United States. For decades, Canada has relied heavily on the United States for security cooperation. But under Donald Trump, that dependence has increasingly looked like a vulnerability. Trump imposed tariffs on allies, threatened trade partners, and even floated the idea of acquiring Greenland, moves that raise serious concerns across Europe and North America. Carney's response has been to change the equation. First, Canada began diversifying its economic relationships, strengthening trade partnerships with countries across Europe and Asia, including Japan.
This question is to all the prime ministers. As Arctic nations with valuable resources that President Donald Trump wants, do you feel the U.S. threat to Greenland's sovereignty and Canada's sovereignty is over? And what specific actions can you as middle powers take together to defend each other against threats to your nation's self-determination?
I'll finish with this fact, which is historically, when Canada has made defense procurement, 70 cents on the dollar, more than 70 cents on the dollar, has gone to the United States. Not just to American companies, but gone to the United States. That's not an effective way to build our industry or to protect our people.
If a country within the NATO alliance tries to take over Greenland, would Canada then be ready to contribute with military forces and actually put up military resistance to protect Greenland?
Australia, India, and others, reducing its reliance on the United States. Now the next step is emerging, building a broader coalition of nations to ensure that Canada's security, especially in the Arctic, is not dependent on the political decisions of any one government in Washington. The meeting in Oslo was not just symbolic, it was strategic. Carney brought together Arctic and Nordic leaders, countries that share geography, interests, and democratic values with Canada. Together, they began discussing deeper cooperation to protect one of the world's most rapidly changing regions.
It's been a very effective grouping. I thank you for bringing us together, a group of countries that share common purpose, shared values, and a capacity to work with others. This grouping, informal grouping, but also in more formal groupings, such as the Arctic Council, in NATO, in the Coalition of the Willing. And this is important because we are all facing a growing list of challenges, challenges to Arctic security, challenges that come from the changing nature of warfare, challenges which interact with changing technologies and conflicts, both actual and virtual, that are moving closer to all of us. As the Prime Minister just said, and as our discussion reflected, security is moving beyond traditional areas of energy security, food security, and of course defense security into core strategic capacities driven by the changing nature of our economy.
The Arctic is quickly becoming one of the most contested areas on Earth. The region holds enormous energy reserves, critical minerals, and newly accessible shipping routes as ice continues to recede. These changes are drawing the attention of major global powers. Carney made it clear that cooperation between democratic nations is the best way to manage these challenges. One of the most dramatic moments of the press conference came when a journalist asked about Trump's past comments regarding Greenland. Trump had openly discussed the possibility of acquiring the island, an idea that alarmed governments throughout the Arctic region. The question to Carney was direct. If a NATO country attempted to take Greenland, would Canada stand up for its allies? Carney's response was firm. Canada will defend sovereignty, and Canada will stand with its allies. But the most important shift revealed during the press conference went beyond Greenland. It highlighted Canada's long-standing dependence on the United States for security.
If a country within the NATO alliance tries to take over Greenland, would Canada then be ready to contribute with military forces and actually put up military resistance to protect Greenland?
Well, the first thing I'd say, thank you for the question. We stand foursquare behind the principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity. It is for the people of Greenland and Denmark to decide their futures. And first point, being absolutely clear about that, being clear that we will back that with measures as necessary as a partner, and being, I think the fact that we and others have been clear, I don't want to put it on Canada, but European Union and others have been clear about these fundamental principles and the principle of solidarity has helped to create the space, which always should have been there, to be clear, to develop a better security umbrella in the Arctic, but also including Greenland. So we're clear on where we stand, and we will continue to stand with Denmark and Greenland.
For decades, Canada's defense system has been deeply integrated with America's through NORAD and NATO. A large share of Canada's defense procurement has historically gone to American companies, meaning Canadian military infrastructure often relied on U.S. systems, supply chains, and political decisions. For many years, that arrangement worked smoothly because the two countries were closely aligned. But political tensions during the Trump era forced Ottawa to reconsider that level of dependence. Trade disputes, tariffs, and increasingly confrontational rhetoric created uncertainty in the relationship. Carney's strategy now appears clear. Canada will continue working with the United States, but it will no longer rely on it exclusively. Instead, Canada is expanding its defense partnerships, working more closely with European and Nordic countries that share similar Arctic interests. This shift represents one of the most significant strategic adjustments in Canadian defense policy in decades, and the stakes are high. The Arctic is rapidly becoming one of the most important geopolitical regions in the world. As ice melts, new shipping routes are opening and access to valuable resources is increasing. Major powers are already moving to strengthen their influence. Russia has expanded military infrastructure across the Arctic. China has declared itself a near-Arctic state and is investing heavily in northern trade routes and infrastructure. Against that backdrop, Trump's earlier comments about acquiring Greenland sent shockwaves through the region. For Arctic nations like Canada, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland, Greenland is not simply territory. It represents sovereignty and strategic stability in the far north. Those developments pushed many governments to rethink their approach to Arctic security. Carney's response has been to build cooperation rather than confrontation. By bringing together countries with shared interests in the Arctic, Canada is helping shape a model of collective security for the region, one where no single country dominates and where Arctic nations work together to protect their shared environment and interests. The contrast between approaches is clear. While Trump often relied on pressure and unilateral actions, Carney is emphasizing partnerships and alliances. And that difference is beginning to reshape Canada's role on the global stage.